Is this Duncan Hines keto-friendly brownie mix the brownies we've been searching for? Let's find out. So I'm gonna follow the instructions as they are on the box to the T. So I assume they are the ones who know best how to make the brownies.
And so we begin by preheating the oven to 350 degrees. Buttering the pan, cracking the eggs, adding the water, and cracking open the brownie mix.
Looks like brownie mix. Kind of smells like brownie mix.
And into the bowl it goes, along with some melted milk fat, followed by the obligatory mixing and spreading of the chocolate mush. However, there's a slight problem.
11 by 7.5. It's a lot bigger than I thought it was.
Bigger is not always better, considering the box calls for an 8x8 or 9x9 pan.
So what are the ingredients in this brownie mix, and are they actually keto or low carb? Erythritol, almond flour, allulose, coconut flour, cocoa powder, processed with alkali, chicory root fiber, inulin, unsweetened chocolate, less than 2% of inulin, resistant dextrin, modified tapioca starch, leavening, cream of tartar, sodium bicarbonate, salt, cocoa powder, cocoa butter, xanthan gum, natural flavors, non-fat dry milk, stevia sweetener, soy lecithin, steviol glycosides, whole milk powder, vanilla extract, contains soy milk and tree nuts, so if you are allergic to nuts, probably don't want to eat this. Overall, it seems pretty low carb, 110 calories per serving, which is 1/12 of the actual package, which makes the brownies very, very small. However, it is not a low-calorie food.
Not a low-calorie food at all. After they baked for some time in the oven, they're removed and allowed to cool completely.
Huh.
Then it's time for the taste test.
Doesn't look too bad.
Upon inspection, it has decent texture, holds itself together, and is still rather moist.
It's a little dry, not very sweet, but I think we can make it better. We can make it better.
And so this little cook went to market.
Let's try this again. This is an 8x8 pan. How we're gonna cut this in 12, I have no idea.
That is, cut it into 12 squares, which is essentially impossible. As he dirties his cutting board with butter, he places it to melt and then cleans. Because ants. Then he returns to his ingredients.
Now, I like to mix the eggs in the water first because it makes it a lot easier to mix later. You don't have to worry about trying to break the yolk and all that nonsense. Now, one of the things I wanted most about the brownies is I want them to be a little bit chocolatey, a little bit more fudgy. But the thing that adds more fudginess to brownies is actually adding more fat. So I'm gonna add some low carb Lily's chocolate chips. These are my preferred. Just my preferred.
So he adds half a cup of cacao buttons along with some melted butter.
No scrambled eggs. All right, we're good.
Another box of brownie mix, more mixing, pouring, some tapping, some shaking, and into the hot box.
All right,
It goes.
now we wait.
After ensuring it's thoroughly cooked, it's set aside to cool.
How do I cut this into 12?
And then Dennis attempts to solve the unsolvable. Not to mention he's using metal on a non-stick pan. Shame.
It's not even at all.
This iteration seems to have more fudginess to it. A bit denser appearance and a bit more chocolatey, especially when compared with the recipe on the box.
Definitely a little fudgier. Definitely that's an improvement. So we tried it off the shelf and we tried it with additional chocolate, which made it better. But now I want to try one of the substitutions with Greek yogurt because I want to try and make this as low calorie as possible.
Into the bowl goes the Greek yogurt and the pre-chickens with
A little crunch.
some extra. Mix, pour, shake, tap, and bake.
Tripod's in the way.
Once again, they're allowed to cool, and this time he uses a plastic bench scraper. Although the batter was wetter, the brownie appears drier with less fudge consistency when compared to the previous two.
Feels a little drier, but a little bit more fudgy. Definitely has more bite to it. Some needs a little bit more sweetness, if you ask me. A little fudgy, but a little drier.
And so the questions continue.
Got one more to try.
One more.
I'm gonna go back to using butter because that's the original recipe, and fat is also what increases that sort of thick, fudgy flavor. So in order to roll anything else, butter it is. Now what I am gonna do is I'm actually gonna add the chocolate to the butter because it's gonna melt it and get it that nice even spread. So we're not really worried about tempering it because it's just about to melt it. Oh. Always gotta have extra chocolate on hand. Oh. Getting overzealous.
Once the butter has melted a bit, he mixes the chocolate to ensure an even sauce. The chocolate sauce is then slowly and very slowly added to the mix. Or not. A bit too hot to handle, however hot it is in the kitchen, he stays.
Should probably get some oven mitts.
Mitts would be good. He continues the standard process, and then it's time for his last attempt with a special ingredient.
Gelatin. Thinking back to my Pizza 2.0 recipe, it was the gelatin that gave the dough that nice bite that we really wanted out of that bread. And I think that might be what we need in this recipe. 2 packets of gelatin.
Unflavored, of course, otherwise that'd be a bit disgusting. Although the batter looks incredibly appetizing, it's not the same as cookie dough, so he refrains from eating it all before it reaches the oven.
It's definitely thicker already. Now we wait. Again.
Sometime later,
I cut these horribly uneven.
this gelatin version seems a bit dry and more crumbly when breaking it into pieces. Compared to the previous iterations, it also appears less fudgy but more chewy. And as for the taste test,
Definitely chewier, but it's actually more cake-like. So, not exactly what we were trying to do, but if you want a cakey brownie,
then this is the version for you.
I've had brownies like this before.
And we can all tell, judging by your waistline.
So is the Duncan Hines Keto-friendly chewy fudge brownie mix worth it? I think if you're in a pinch and you really need that brownie, I think it works great. It's not as chewy or as fudgy as I'd like, but that's probably because of the fact that there's no wheat and not as much chocolate as I would like. Now, if you're looking for an ultimate brownie mix, I think if you're gonna go through the trouble to adding the different ingredients to make it better, you're better off just making your own brownie mix. But in a pinch, especially with some ice cream, I think it works pretty good. And if you wanna know how to make the best low-carb ice cream, check out this video over here. My name is Dennis, and I'll see you in the next one. Probably grab a spoon. Thick and fudgy. Boop.